Marshall says there's some good news on vaccinations.
We are now at the 90% double vaccinated for 12 and overs, and I know that's a number we've been looking at for quite some time. I can also give you some other really good news, and that was that yesterday had 4,177 paediatric doses. It now puts us above the national average in terms of the administration of those paediatric doses.
Relaxed isolation rules for close contacts will not be expanded to additional workforces. National Cabinet has met today to discuss whether industries such as hospitality should join the list of essential sectors. This would mean staff would not be required to isolate if they were deemed a close contact. Prime Minister Scott Morrison says it would place too much pressure on the health system.
We have a risk-based setting here, and it's all about getting the right balance between getting people back to work and not overstressing your hospital system, which is, of course, under a lot of stress. And we believe we have that balance right.
COVID testing at the Australian Tennis Open is coming under scrutiny. Frenchman Hugo Humbert tested positive after his round 1 loss. Men's number 3 Alexander Zverev has revealed there's no mandatory testing, while the women's number 3 Garbine Muguruza says she's testing herself regularly, but no tournament official is checking them. Australians are being assured the economy won't buckle under the strain of Omicron. Latest data shows unemployment dropped to a 13-year low of 4.2% in December. South Australia's rate fell to 3.9%. With the current surge in COVID cases, that figure is expected to increase. But Treasurer Josh Frydenberg says a strong foundation has been laid.
Australian households and businesses have accumulated $360 billion that was not there at the start of the pandemic, and that will help provide a buffer against the Omicron challenge. So we know there are great pressures at the moment, but we also know that the economy is very resilient.
2 RAAF planes carrying aid are due to touch down in Tonga by the end of the day. One of the Boeing C-17s has already left and the other is ready to go. New satellite images show the extent of the damage left by the volcanic eruption and tsunami. Defence Minister Peter Dutton says HMAS Adelaide is travelling over to assist.
3 Chinooks loaded onto HMAS Adelaide last night. And there will be additional aid that'll be loaded today. So there's a lot of work that Defence is doing.
Now turning to 5AA Sport.
Hardware stores have lots of stuff, but for sliding door parts, visit rollerco.com.au. This Australian Open tennis update, thanks to the super fast charging all-electric Kia EV6.
Australian Chris O'Connell is through to the 3rd round of the Australian Open after upsetting 13th seed Diego Schwartzman in straight sets. Meanwhile, the singles career of Sam Stosur at the Aussie Major is over after going down to Anastasia Pavlyuchenkova. The Australian fell 6-2, 6-2 to the 10th seeded Russian. Stosur says she's proud of her achievements over the years.
I've done more than I ever thought was possible. I dreamed of winning a Grand Slam and, doing close to the things I did. So to do what I've done as dreaming as a little kid, I think is phenomenal. So I couldn't have asked for any more.
Australia is looking to continue its domination over England on the cricket pitch in the Women's Ashes. The series begins with a T20 match in Adelaide tonight. And Aussie Paddy Mills has scored 17 points to go with 5 rebounds and 1 assist in the Brooklyn Nets' 1-point win over the Washington Wizards. Now checking 5AA traffic.
At Bowden, expect delays on Hawker Street near Park Terrace. That's due to closures on Torrens Road for works. Woodville Park, asphalt works continue. Port Road near Kilkenny Road, that's affecting inbound. Speeds reduced there. Myrtle Bank, speeds also reduced for works around the intersection of Cross, Glen Osmond and Portrush Roads at the bottom of the freeway. And busy on the drive home South Road near the Tonsley Precinct. Got cameras at Adelphi Terrace, Glenelg North and Grant Road at Ranella. Don't miss the Commonwealth Bank Women's Ashes T20 international matches. Australia versus England live January 20, 22 and 23 at the Adelaide Oval. Search Ashes tickets now. Adelaide's most accurate traffic on 5AA.
Now the 5AA forecast. Sunny this afternoon, 35. Mostly sunny tomorrow, 35. Saturday partly cloudy, 34. And Sunday a shower or two, 29. Right now it's 32. Now let's hear what's happening on 9 News Tonight.
Drama on a suburban beach. A man dragged from the water after saving his daughter. 11 COVID deaths, but we've finally reached a vaccination milestone. A worker on a suburban road cleaned up by a runaway car. A new COVID vaccine approved, how it's different from the others. And scam alert. An Aussie family almost loses its life savings. I'm Kate Collins. See the full story on 9 News tonight at 6.
Jade Robran on 1395, Adelaide's 5AA.
It's 7 minutes past 3 o'clock. Thank you very much for joining the program. You're listening to Jade Robran on afternoons, but you can also watch the program as well. We're live streaming on Facebook, also YouTube. So a howdy to everybody that is tuning in online. We will be doing that each and every day from 3 o'clock onwards. And then also the sports show will also be live streamed as well. I've got an advisory notice to read out here. It's issued for Coles Ellard Road near Fox Coles, Callendale and Ellard Road in Lucendale in the lower southeast. If you're in the area, stay alert, monitor local conditions and decide what you will do if the situation changes. At this time, there's no threat to life or property and firefighters are attending this fire. CFS expects change in the wind direction at about 12:45. This may cause the fire to change direction and move towards Ellard, Callendale and also Diagonal Roads. People in the Fox Coles, Callendale and also Ellard Roads area should leave now or prepare to defend their homes before the wind changes directions. And to keep up to date, you can visit the website cfs.sa.gov.au or you can phone the information hotline on 1800 362 361. Now, it's been a while since I've spoken to our next guest, so I'm guessing there is a lot of calls that are going to come through. Gardening, it's time to chat with Milton Vidoulas from Vidoulas Garden Centre. If you've got a gardening question, please call in now, 8223 0000. Milton, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you too, Jade. Thank you. Good to talk to you again.
Nice to talk to you. Did you spend a lot of the time in the garden? I know I certainly did.
Well, yes, I had to because I was in forced isolation for 2 weeks.
Oh.
So I think I started on Christmas Eve and didn't come out until about the 10th or something. So it was,
what happened?
Well, we had a visitor from Melbourne, and after he stayed with us a night, and then after a couple of days, he ended up getting COVID, and then my son got COVID. So I was sort of isolating because I was a close contact, and then I had to isolate. My son got COVID, so...
Milton. So what did you do on Christmas Day?
I had a cheese and tomato sandwich on my own.
Oh, bugger. I would have dropped around a bit of my turkey had I known.
It was a very sad time. You know, I had some friends coming around Christmas Eve. I've got a group of friends where we all catch up Christmas Eve for a drink and, you know, a chat and something to eat. And, well, I had to cancel that. And,
bugger. Did they FaceTime you in?
We spoke to everyone, but it's not quite the same when you're sitting out there on your own.
Nah, it's not. Actually, it stinks.
No.
Oh, well, I'm sorry to hear that.
Time?
I did. And you know what? I didn't do anything in the week leading up because my kid said to me, if you guys go out and catch COVID and ruin Christmas, we'll never forgive you. I thought, no, fair enough. And when they're little, you know, it's just so special. So to be honest, I didn't do much at all. And I had a little bit of a bubble going on with my cousin because she was coming over with her children and her hubby to celebrate Christmas. So we kind of made a bit of a pact that we'd see her in the lead up. And then that was it. So no, we got through Christmas Day unscathed, and touch wood that I haven't caught Rona yet, but it's only a matter of time. Anyway, let's talk gardening.
It's around the corner anyway. Yes, of course.
Let's talk gardening. We've got Trish who's called in already from Prospect, and if you've got a gardening question, please call in and talk to Milton 8223 0000. Trish, good afternoon.
Hi, I have a question about Rosemary. I'm not a gardener as such, but a couple of years ago I moved into a rental which was pretty bare, and also the verge had nothing on it, and I fixed all that. I've planted a whole heap of things. But the rosemary, I've got two different types of rosemary, I think, or they're just growing differently. One rosemary bush has just got like feelers sticking out and growing up, and they just look like a hand with fingers getting longer and longer. And the other rosemary bush out the back has turned into this really, really bushy bush, prickly and hard. And I'm just wondering, are there different types of rosemary?
Oh, absolutely. There's quite a few varieties, actually. They start from a prostrate rosemary, which is a ground cover, which is a fabulous, fabulous ground cover. And then you go to the next height one, is called a blue lagoon, and that's distinctive. It's a low spreading one, and it's distinctive dark blue flower. So that's an easy one to tell. And then the one that you've got with fingers, the way you're describing it, sounds like to me one called Tuscan blue, which is upright, but it's less compact. And then you have the normal ordinary rosemary, which is a thick round bush. So yes, there are lots of different varieties of rosemary, but they are really. You said you weren't a very good gardener. Well, rosemary is a perfect plant for someone that is gardening challenged, can I say? Because they are bulletproof in our climate. They love it here.
And can I just ask you, do you treat them differently? Like, I have tried to cut the one that's just sort of the long fingers. I've tried to promote growth and tried to promote flowers, because the reason I plant things is mainly for the birds and the bees. And I like the smell of things, and I just want to fill the verges up along my road in Prospect. And so I picked a lot of tough things. But do you treat them any differently?
No, not really. If you want them to be nice and bushy, whether it's the ground cover or the intermediate or the Tuscan blue or the normal one, the more often you trim them, the bushier they'll get. Even that Tuscan one that you've got, which has tall finger-type branches, you can cut that and turn that into a thick hedge. The more often you cut it, the quicker it's going to make a hedge. So to answer your question, chop them as much as you like. Now, if you chop them too regularly, you won't get many flowers. That's the other thing to consider.
Thanks, Trish. And I don't know if you're a gin drinker, but I put a sprig of rosemary and a bit of orange in my gin and tonic the other night, and it was delicious. So if you've got some left over, pop some in your gin and tonic.
Good idea.
Yeah, it tastes delicious. Hello, Jeff.
How are you? Jade, Milton, how are you guys?
We're great, thank you. What would you like to ask Milton?
Milton, I've got a big stag that we've had in the family for over 30 years, and I've noticed it was sort of like it was dying off at the top corner, and I got up and had a look, and there's another little stag growing in because I noticed the stag horn was coming out the back. How do I get that out without killing my big beauty?
Yeah, but if it's probably an elk horn, not a stag horn, because elk horns do get younger plants on the sides. They get new shields. And I think when the shield gets big enough, you just get a bread knife is actually the best thing, a serrated bread knife, and you just got to cut it around and make sure you get some of the roots with it. And then all you do is you get some sphagnum moss, and you put that on a board or a tree trunk, wherever you're going to put it, and then just retie it, and it'll grow a new plant.
Well, Milton, would I be able to put it in the back of my Ranger and bring it up to you?
You're not much of a green thumb, Jeff.
Well, my first job out of school, believe it or not, was a horticulturalist, and at old Holton's Nursery years ago in St. Peter's. But we never did anything like that. It was doing propagation and that, but not like that.
I reckon. I'm not sure. I did a video on it. I'm not sure if it's still on YouTube or if it only was on the TV show I did. Look, I think if you search it, someone would have had to have done a video on how to transplant them. It's not a difficult job. Don't be scared by it. As long as you get some of the roots, and it'll take you half an hour to do the whole thing.
Thanks,
the biggest
Jeff.
job is building the board.
Thanks, Jeff, very much. We'll go to Margaret. And if you've got any gardening questions, call in now. Milton Vidoulis from Vidoulis Garden Centre is here joining us to answer all your questions. And we've got Leo on the phone. Hello, Leo.
Hello, guys. How are we?
We're great, thanks.
How are you, Milton?
Good.
I've just asking. I've grown a couple of parsley plants, and they've gone to seed now. And I was just wondering, what's the? Am I able to use those seeds to grow more parsley, or is that it? Pretty much, I'll have to get new ones.
No, absolutely. The seed, when it's ripe, it goes like little black seeds in there. You collect those, put them in a brown paper bag until you're ready to plant, and then plant them out. Plant them out in the autumn is probably a really good time to do it, and they jump out of the ground like rockets. They are fantastic, especially when you have fresh seed like that. With my parsley, I let it go to seed and I leave it on the bush, and then it comes back up in my veggie patch again. So, yes, the answer is absolutely.
Fantastic. Thank you for that. And also, I've grown a lot of vegetables, and I've got an apple tree and a few other plants in large pots, obviously with good soil. But with the soil, does that have to be changed like every now and then, or...
Yes,
like what
yes,
I'm trying to say in the pot, it does. Yeah.
It does. Yeah. Look, if you're using potting mix, which is what you should use for pot, what happens? It breaks down potting mix. That's the easiest way to explain it, and it makes lots of small particles, and then that's not a good structure for plants to grow in. So about every 3 to 5 years, it pays you to take your tree out of the pot. Usually in winter's the best. You know, tease the roots out, give it a bit of a root prune, shake a lot of the old soil and put in some nice fresh potting soil, and it makes a huge difference.
Thanks, Leo. Good luck. And we will go to Margaret. She's called in from Findon. Good afternoon, Margaret.
Oh, good afternoon, Jade and Milton. Look, I'm wanting to put in a hedge, but as I'm older now, I don't really want to have to spray. And I'm wanting one that doesn't attract insects, and I have to end up spraying it.
Okay, yep. So you don't want anything that attracts bees and stuff, is that what you mean, or just bug insects?
Bugs, because, I have had one, and it did get a lot of curly leaf, and yeah.
Yeah, yes. What district are you in?
Beg your pardon?
What district do you live in?
Oh, Findon.
Findon, yes, okay. Look, my number one go-to hedging plant is Morea. It is a bulletproof plant, loves the heat. Once established, you could hardly have to water it, and it looks fabulous. It has nice green glossy leaves with beautiful small white perfumed flowers. You cannot beat a Morea.
Oh, right. Is that similar to the Abelia?
It's got a lighter green leaf than the Abelia, but I guess hedged up it would look the same.
Yes.
But the thing about a Morea, it's far more drought tolerant once it's established than an Abelia. So that's why it's my number one go-to hedging plant in Adelaide. It's no good in frost areas. So if you live in the hills, it's different. But where you are, it's absolutely perfect. The other good thing about a Morea is it tolerates shade really well. So sometimes, we want our gardens are getting smaller. We're getting more shade from houses and stuff. So it tolerates shade really well. So that's the other good thing. And the other thing you must be aware of, you must plant Morea in warm climate, warm months. So, I only recommend you plant Moreas in October, November, December, January, February. After that, it's getting a little bit too late because it needs that warm weather to get established.
There you go. Well, hopefully that information helps you. I've got Morea, and I'd actually like to ask you how often I should be watering it. It's baby. No, not long. Probably 6 months.
Oh, 6 months. So if you were trying to establish it, I'd be watering it this time of the year. A really good soak twice a year or twice a year.
I was going to say, oh, beauty! It is drought resilient.
2 to 3 times a week. Sorry.
Okay.
And every time you water it, you need to put on about 15 to 20 litres per plant every time you water it.
Wow. Right, a lot. Okay, we're going to take a really short break. Coming up, Milton will continue to answer your gardening questions, but he's only going to be here for about another 3 or 4 minutes. So if you do have a gardening question, please call in now, 8223 0000.
5AA's afternoon show is streaming live right now. Check it out. Head to the 5AA live stream on Facebook, YouTube, or at 5AA.com.au.
Here's one way to tolerate the heat in your hot home this summer. Stand in an esky of ice, close your eyes and listen to Antarctic sound effects. Was that a polar bear? Or you can call Holair Air Conditioning. They've mastered the art of keeping Adelaide cool. Their expert team can design an air conditioning system just for you, or give your old system its annual service. Holair Air Conditioning for life. Holair.com.au or call 8281 4100.
How good does beer sound? But as good as it sounds, it's actually the stuff you can't hear that makes this beer a Cooper's. Every drop contains passion and dedication to always use the finest ingredients and best brewing techniques. It's what we've been doing right here in SA for 160 years. And it's this stuff that will always make Cooper's forever original. Roll into Sip and Save and roll out with a Sweet Surf hat. Available now with original Pale Ale 375ml cans.
Look, if you want a lush green backyard, there's one easy way to get it. Install Rainbird. Don't believe me? Look at the MCG's outfield. Check out the Sydney Cricket Ground's Jade Field of Envy, Perth's Optus Stadium, spring green year-round, your neighbour Derek's backyard. Now that's emerald turf. All of these places installed Rainbird, so talk to your landscaper about their irrigation and sprinkler systems. Rainbird, the intelligent use of water. Learn more at rainbird.com.
The Barossa Valley is a great place to visit. You have history, wine, great food, nature, wine. What if you had one extra draw card? Your parents. Retirement units are available in safe and connected neighbourhood clusters just an hour from the city. We're talking about newly renovated 1, 2 and 3 bedroom homes from around 180k to 300k. They get the vine change and you get another reason to visit the Barossa. Win-win. Talk to your parents today about Barossa Village. Find out more at barossavillage.org.
What if your next holiday was always parked just outside the front door? Dave Benson Caravans sell your next holiday, and unlike an expensive overseas holiday, your dollar remains as an asset, your caravan. With over 120 new or used caravans and campers on display under one roof, the DBC Caravan professionals can tailor your next family holiday to your lifestyle and needs. Your Australian journey awaits and begins at Dave Benson Caravans, 64 Grand Junction Road, Kilburn.
You've selected your block up on the river. Your mind is buzzing with ideas. This is going to be the best river home ever. Raised high, breezes flowing, great times ahead. But first, you need to walk through the Selector Homes display village and let your design ideas flow. Selector Homes have been creating holiday homes for over 25 years, and they are experts in building pole homes. Selector Homes and Building Solutions Display Village, Port Wakefield Road, Burton. Visit selectorhomes.com.au.
1395, Adelaide's 5AA. This is Jade Robran.
25 minutes past 3 o'clock on this beautiful sunny Thursday afternoon, and we're talking gardening with Milton Vidoulis from Vidoulis Garden Centre. And Milton, Raylene has called in. She wants to ask about mock orange.
Yes, hello. I got one and it didn't flower this year, but it's very tall now with lots of green leaves, and I'm thinking it's time to cut it back. Am I right?
Yes, definitely. But they like the warm weather to grow, so it's a good time to chop them back. You just don't cut it back when you've got a spate of hot days coming. Otherwise, it gives it a little bit of leaf burn. It's not really a problem, but, if you've got, in the forecast, you've got, the days around the mid-20s coming, chop it just before that, and that's ideal.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Raylene, very much. And Milton, we've had such a spate of dry weather, hot weather, and then this weekend we're getting a real humid, possibly thunderstorms coming in. Should we fertilise ready for the rain this weekend?
Yeah, absolutely. Look, if you are getting rain, and it's a really nice time of the year to get a good drop, put some fertiliser on, because the rain dissolves the fertiliser and takes it down to the root zone. So it saves you going out and watering it in with your hose. So a perfect time to get some lawn food on your lawn, feed your fruit trees, your roses I'd leave a little bit yet, but just the whole garden really could use a really good feed.
Beautiful. Well, thank you for the advice. Milton Vidoulis there from Vidoulis Garden Centre. And we're lucky he's going to join us again next week at 2 o'clock. Thank you, Milton. Coming up afterwards, we're going to be talking about Novavax and new COVID treatments. Also, ACL injuries amongst AFLW players. Why are they on the rise?
The time is now. AC8 O'Connell brings new life to this landmark location. An opportunity to tell a new and unique story. A connected community with arts, culture, sport and entertainment on your doorstep. 2, 3 or 4 bedroom apartments with unparalleled views to the city, hills, coast and beyond. The long-awaited display suite is now open, showcasing the incredible lifestyle on offer at AC8 O'Connell. More than an address. AC8 O'Connell, North Adelaide.
Don't just get a forklift, get a Toyota forklift. When you need a forklift, don't just get a forklift, get a Toyota forklift. Get the world's #1 forklift brand. Get legendary Toyota reliability, get world-leading safety, and get it from toyotamaterialhandling.com.au. Get the Toyota Forklift Advantage. For sales, service and hire, get a Toyota forklift.
Fire, fire, go away. Come again, no other day.
Act now to be bushfire ready. Remember to do your 5-minute bushfire plan. Keep it up to date and share it with loved ones today. It's also important to stay informed. Watch the weather and listen to multiple sources of information. Why risk it? Go to cfs.sa.gov.au. A message from the Government of South Australia.
Leon here. I trust Zen Energy to help keep me cool in the summer. Adelaide's own Zen Energy is resetting how we do renewable energy in Australia. As we know, solar is the best way to reduce our carbon footprint, build a better world and save on power bills. It's not too late to access government rebates, so get in quick before prices increase. Contact our friends at Zen Energy and tell them Leon sent you for an even better offer. Visit zenenergy.com.au. That's zenenergy.com.au.
Aura Retirement Resort in Findon is 5-star resort-style living with all the comforts, activities and services that you need to relax and enjoy life. Inquire now to secure your luxurious apartment in the Ruby Tower. Brand new 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom apartments start from just $370K. Start truly living at Aura by Livewell Findon. For more information, go to aurabylivewell.com.au or call their friendly sales team today.
Go Vita, your local health food shops. Over 30 years health and wellness experience and over 300 natural health practitioners specialising in you.
Hi, I'm Wayne from your local Go Vita store in Mount Barker. Come into any of our Go Vita stores for this great special. Nutrivital Vitamin D 1000 IU 200 caps was $22.95, now $13.75.
Go Vita, Colonnades, Fairview Green, Marion, Mount Barker, Manopara, Semaphore and Tanunda.
This is Adelaide's 5AA.
Good afternoon, I'm Acl Reconstruction. 11 South Australians with COVID have died in the past 24 hours, while 3,777 new cases have been recorded. SA's unemployment rate has plunged to a record low of 3.9%. International aid has begun arriving in Tonga after the weekend eruption and tsunami, and Aussie Chris O'Connell is through to the third round of the Australian Open after upsetting 13 seed Diego Schwartzman in straight sets. Mostly sunny this afternoon. 35. Right now it's 33. More news at 4 o'clock and as it happens on 5AA.
Jade Robran on 1395, Adelaide's 5AA.
3:31, and I've just got a text message here from somebody to say, could you please confirm whether Homebrew 22 has actually been cancelled? So I have got notification here. Due to COVID restrictions in SA, Homebrew 2 has been cancelled as the organisers are not able to run the festival under current conditions. They're working through the process of refunding and transferring tickets. More details can be found on their Facebook page. So this is meant to be a 3-day event, a big barbecue and beer festival at the Adelaide Showgrounds over, this weekend. So, unfortunately, due to COVID restrictions, they're saying on their Facebook page that the ever-changing plans they just can't work with them, so they've had to cancel. And unfortunately, it's just one of many festivals or shows that are being cancelled around the state, which is really sad because people and organisers just simply can't keep up with the ever-changing rules and regulations and just not financially viable. So, yeah, there we go. I can confirm that, yes, it has been cancelled, which is a real shame for the festival and all those people that have bought tickets. So on to some good news, though, for those holding out for Novavax, those that didn't want Pfizer or AstraZeneca. I know a lot of people have been waiting for Novavax. The National Drug Regulator has approved it today, as well as 2 oral treatments. Now, Professor Nigel McMillan joins us from Menzies Health Institute at Griffith University. Professor, thank you very much for your time. I'd like to start with Novavax. Are you a fan of it?
Yeah, look, I think it's a more traditional sort of vaccine. I've had many people email and call me asking about this, and I think there's a lot of people holding out for this really much more traditional, this protein subunit, we call it, based vaccine, rather than the newer technologies that some people feel slightly uncomfortable with. Its clinical trial results are certainly impressive, as good as anything else we've got going. And so I think that overall, yep, I'm a fan.
So how does it differ then from Pfizer and AstraZeneca?
Yeah, so Pfizer and Moderna are mRNA vaccines, and they are new technologies, although, it's been around for 20 years, but new in the vaccine field in this scale, where we basically give the patient some mRNA, some messenger RNA to make a protein in the cell itself, whereas this Novavax really is the protein already made. And so lots of vaccines we currently have, in our vaccine program are like this. So it's still a spike protein, but it's just already made. It's actually made in insect cells and purified, but it's given that way into the arm, and your body sees this protein and will make its immune reaction against spike. AstraZeneca is quite different again. It's a virus-based protein, a virus-based vaccine, which it's a chimpanzee, what we call an adenovirus, and it replicates poorly in your arm to make the immune reaction against spike.
And those that have tested it, what's the reactions? Is there many people? We know a lot of people with the injections now get achy, headachy. Maybe some don't. But are there any side effects to this one?
Very typical vaccine side effects. No, it's found the typical sore arms, temperature, muscle aches. The sort of things you'd expect from any vaccine is what we've seen here. So the phase 3 trial was about 30,000 people, and those found. In terms of how effective it was, it certainly seemed to be more than 90% effective at preventing serious illness, symptomatic infection, and 100% effective at stopping serious illness. Yep.
The government's ordered 50 million doses, which sounds like a lot, but who can get their hands on it?
Yeah, so 50 million is quite a lot. We've actually ordered quite a lot of vaccine over the last 12 months or so. Plenty in stock. I don't know when it's arriving in country. It's certainly Novavax have been supplying it in Europe since late this November. So it's certainly available. So when the actual shipments arrive in the country and can be dispensed, that will come under General Fruin's command in terms of how it gets sent out to various vaccine clinics and GP clinics.
I've read that Novavax has been linked to be more favourable for children and adolescents. Why would that be?
So there's, at the moment, the approvals for over 18s, they are looking at whether to make a very shot. So the argument is that, mix and match your vaccines and sort of vaccine might make a very good booster, no matter if you've had Pfizer or Moderna or AstraZeneca. Still ongoing for that, and also whether it's useful in children and adolescents under the age of 8. I'm not approved for that here in Australia, but there are studies ongoing, and I don't doubt they'll be applying for both those uses.
Now, you are in a good spot now, but you might have just moved because we lost you for a second. So wherever you're standing now, stay standing. Your phone line's good. I'd like to ask you about the two pills that hit the news today, the two oral treatments. What can you tell us about them?
So these are antiviral drugs that were developed against other viruses in the past. Now, have been pulled off the shelf and tried against COVID-19, and they seem to have some effect. So Paxlovid and Molnupiravir is what their technical names are, and they're both oral, which is a great advantage. You don't need to be in a hospital and have something stuck in your arm like you would, or injected like remdesivir. So you can take these, orally. So and like all antivirals, it's something that you have to take early on. So as soon as you have a RAT positive test. These are particularly for individuals who might have comorbidities, diabetes, obesity, the elderly, for example. Those sorts of people are the ones who are going to be classic patients to get these, but they need to take them early, and it's a 5-day course.
So it's designed to not stop you from getting it, COVID. It's designed to slow down symptoms when you do get it.
Yeah, so it attacks the virus. It stops the virus growing in your body, but it's no good taking it beforehand because there's no virus there to stop.
Right.
And so it's good. And it's no good later on, when you're in hospital, when you're very sick, that's another issue. The virus replication is very low at that stage. It's really your immune system that becomes a problem. So the earlier the better with these sorts of new drugs.
And have you heard from people that have been able to take them? What have they said? Does it kick in pretty much straight away? And what side effects? Because, COVID's attacking people in different ways. So what are these tablets actually doing?
Yeah, so essentially it's not, I haven't had anyone in Australia that I know who's taken them, none available yet. They will be very soon, they'll be arriving on our shores. The clinical reports basically say that for those in the trials who tested positive by PCR early and took them, they would prevent those patients going to hospital by about 80%. So very effective for Paxlovid. Molnupiravir, not quite as good as that, but still quite effective. And let's face it, we don't have too many sort of arrows in our quiver, so to say, for this. And the previous drugs we've been using, so there's a monoclonal antibody, it's very expensive. And remdesivir was a hepatitis drug that is, nowhere near as effective as these new drugs. So, look, I think we're going to see more and more of these coming onto the market as time goes on. And once again, you just have to take them really early to be the most effective.
So let's put ourselves this time next year, and we know COVID's not going to go anywhere. We've got to live with it like the flu. We've been told that. So, you get COVID January 2023. How are you treated?
So I think that in January 2023, if you're positive for COVID and you've been boosted and vaccinated, you probably won't be treated. You'll probably just have a mild infection. But if you are an asthmatic or someone who has, as I said, diabetes or liver disease or something like that, you want to take some of these antivirals. Actually, not liver disease because you need a good functioning liver. But if you have obesity and diabetes, for example, these we know are factors that really affect your ability to fight the virus. You'll take these drugs, and that will keep you out of hospital. We'll also probably have had maybe one different variant by then. And I think what we're going to start seeing this time, 12 months from now, is probably multivalent vaccines. That is, vaccines that contain Delta-specific and Omicron-specific and new variant-specific doses, all in the one shot. And over the next sort of 2-3 years, this sort of thing will wind down. As we get the rest of the world vaccinated, the new variant generation will slow. And, once we stop variant generation, well, really just becomes something that's just another winter virus we deal with.
I want to ask you, Professor, I'm a mum of 2 boys, an 8-year-old and a 10-year-old. I do have them booked in to get their vaccinations, but I'm really nervous. What would you say to me?
I would say to you that these vaccines are some of the safest vaccines we've actually ever made compared to, the vaccines of the past that we got. Obviously, your young children will have a very mild infection if they get this virus at all, unless they have some comorbidities like they are diabetic or the like. But ultimately, it's really important for them to become immune and to increase the herd immunity so that they won't spread it to grandma, uncles, aunts, teachers, classmates, etc. Passing from this illness, it's really those who have those severe medical issues, the very elderly. They're the ones we really have to protect. You know, a lot of young people who aren't getting vaccinated, you know, that they're really making that decision because they won't get necessarily sick. But of course, we do this not just for ourselves, but we do it for the community. So it is really important for herd immunity that we get those young people vaccinated.
And that's how I do feel, but I have had the conversation with many other mums that have, you know, that some kids have had it. An anti-vaxxer mum, her child had it and got it very mild. So she's like, well, you know, my child barely felt it, so why would I get them vaccinated? But that message is really strong, that it's to build up the immunity, but for the wider community. Is that what you would say? Yes,
I mean, you know, really bad outcomes in children are very rare. Most children will have a mild infection. But of course, what will happen is that, you know, they forget about that. So basically their immune system forgets. So everyone has had a coronavirus infection by the age of 2, and these are the 4 normal strains that have been circulating forever, not COVID-19. And we keep getting it again and again, and that's why it causes the common cold. Now, vaccination, we know, actually is going to give you a longer-lasting immunity and a higher level of immunity than natural infection, although not a broader immunity. So, in fact, there's an advantage to being vaccinated over a natural infection. And, of course, you don't run the risk of course, having the full-blown infection where, you know, really something bad might occur.
Thank you, Professor. Really appreciate it.
No problem at all, anytime.
You have a great afternoon. That is Professor Nigel McMillan there from Menzies Health Institute at the Griffith University. We're going to take a really short break. Coming up afterwards, Bix will come in and tell us what's happening in the world of sport ahead of the sports show coming up at 4 o'clock. And then we're going to be talking to a sports medical physician about ACL injuries amongst AFLW players. They're on the rise. He's going to tell us why.
Introducing the all-new Kia EV6, our first fully electric high-performance vehicle. With ultra-fast charging and over 510 kilometres of driving range. The Kia EV6 has advanced tech, a 12.3-inch panoramic curved display and 0 emissions. It's as silent as the critics. To find out more, visit kia.com.au.
Kia, movement that inspires.
If you need a window, and not just anything will do, just call Statesman Windows, factory direct to you.
Nobody beats Statesman Windows, not on quality and certainly not on service. Windows, sliding doors, bifolds and more, made right here in Adelaide, factory direct to you. For windows when and where you want them, call Statesman Windows, states.com.au.
Windows when and where you want them. Windows when and where you want them.
Ray White, big name in real estate, but also the biggest name in business broking. What makes us big? Our people, like Brett Buckley and his team. MBA, lecturer, and multi-time SA Business Broker of the Year. Brett doesn't just read a P&L, he feels it. If you're selling or expanding your business, Brett can take your business apart and find you more money. And we're not talking small change. Go on, touch base with Brett. Search Ray White Business Sales SA.
Here at FIVEAA, we're all about supporting local. You can't get more local than Country Blinds. With manufacturing in the Adelaide Hills, showrooms at Unley, Henley Beach Road and Mount Barker, nobody knows local like Country Blinds.
Hi, Ronnie Jane here. Make sure your tyres are safe these holidays with Bob Jane T-Marts. No one beats our great getaway deals. Buy 3, get 1 free, and up to $100 instant cashback on iconic brand, passenger, performance, SUV and 4x4 tyres. The biggest tyre range from just $65, our best tyre price guarantee, and Australia's largest alloy wheel choice from only $125. We'll look after you.
T's and C's apply.
How good does beer sound? But as good as it sounds, it's actually the stuff you can't hear that makes this beer a Cooper's. Every drop contains passion and dedication to always use the finest ingredients and best brewing techniques. It's what we've been doing right here in SA for 160 years. And it's this stuff that will always make Coopers forever original. Roll into Sip and Save and roll out with a Sweet Surf hat. Available now with original Pale Ale 375ml cans.
When everything that you've ever been taught doesn't work, what do you do?
A Fire Inside. Streaming on 9 now. Made possible by NRMA Insurance.
Cancer never rests, and for that reason, neither do we. Right now, our SunSmart program is helping protect and educate a generation of little Aussies. Our 13 11 20 nurses are giving one-on-one phone support to people affected by cancer. And the funds you raise help our world-class researchers unlock more answers. And tomorrow, with your help, we'll start again. Cancer Council. Every minute, every hour, every day.
$13.95. Adelaide's FIVEAA. This is Jade Robran.
Good afternoon. It is about 13 minutes to 4 o'clock, and coming up after the afternoon program with myself, we've got Bix in the chair because he's filling in with Rowie, who's got COVID. What's going on in the sports show today?
Well, a pretty big day in tennis, of course, Australian Open. We're into day 3. There's a hugely anticipated match tonight. That's Nick Kyrgios taking on the number 2 seed Daniil Medvedev.
I cannot wait for this.
Talk a little bit about that and what he's got to do to get over the number 2 seed. Todd Woodbridge has got some pretty clear advice around the tactics he should employ. So we'll
Don't
hear.
drink beer, maybe?
Maybe that, but also he reckons he's got to make it a short game, of course.
Yeah.
The preparation that Kyrgios has had with his having COVID, he's asthmatic, so he hasn't been able to do much training.
It's interesting that, I reckon.
Yeah, and so he thinks he has to finish it quite quickly. So we'll talk a little bit about that. Roger Rashid will give us all the updates on what went on today. A couple of great upset wins by some young Aussies who you've hardly ever heard of. Maddie Inglis and Chris O'Connell both had big wins. They're into the 3rd round. So both these guys qualified or had wildcard entry, so they're making the most of their opportunities. And we're also going to talk about the cricket last night. Glenn Maxwell and Marcus Stoinis, they just went berserk. Scored 273 in a T20 match, which was quite outstanding. And we're also going to speak with Alex Carey, of course, made his Ashes debut, made his baggy green debut, I should say, this Test series, and we get a chance to catch up with him.
Oh, that's excellent. He did so well. Excellent. Thank you very much, Bix.
No worries.
And, of course, in a few moments, we're going to hear that why Novak Djokovic, why his visa was cancelled. His deportation reasons will be revealed, I think, in just a few moments. So stay tuned. That'll be interesting to hear why. But now the AFLW season is underway. It's great. I reckon it's just getting better and better and faster each season. But one part of the game that's not good is the amount of injuries, particularly knee injuries to players. There's been a spike in ACL injuries, and I actually noticed this last year, but this season it's just as bad again. So I want to ask the question, and I might be really unpopular for this, but is the female body built to play the rigours of AFL? Dr. Peter Bruckner worked with former Australian cricket team. He was the doctor there, worked with Liverpool and many footy clubs around the country, and he joins us now. Peter, thank you very much for joining the program. This can't be a coincidence that every season we're just seeing an escalation of ACL injuries amongst the AFLW.
Yes, it's certainly an issue. It tends to be mainly at the start of the season, so it wasn't unusual that in round 1 we had 3 ACL injuries, and that's something we've noticed in the men over the years too. That they tend to be congregated mainly in the early part of the season. We're not really sure why. There's a number of theories. Maybe it's hard grounds. Maybe it's that sort of transition from training to the intensity of a game. But for whatever reason, they tend to be mainly at the start of the season. But it's certainly an issue with women's football. It has been right from the start. There's a number of potential reasons for that. It's not simple, otherwise we probably would have solved the problem. But the female anatomy is a bit different in that the wider hips mean that there's more of an angle at the knee between the sort of thigh bone and the shin bone, and that can lead to increased stress on the knee, particularly for the ACL injuries. There's been a lot of discussion about is it hormonal? No one's really been able to pin anything down there. I don't think that's an issue. As I said, it may be that training, moving from training to games. What we found in the first couple of years of AFLW is a lot of it was poor landing techniques, so landing from marks or ruck contests and not really landing very well. But that is not so much of an issue this year and last year. It's mainly when people are sprinting towards the ball and have to either suddenly decelerate or change direction seems to be the issue. As you mentioned, the game is getting much faster and much more intense in women, and that may be a factor as well. There's been a lot of discussion also about, is it because they haven't grown up playing football and haven't sort of learned to ride the bumps and all that sort of thing? But most of them have grown up in an elite sporting environment. Often basketball or netball or some other sport, and switched to AFL. And as we go on, more and more the people coming through the ranks and being drafted have played, AFLW from a fairly young age. So I'm not sure that's so much of an issue. But look, there's the clubs are trying to, doing a lot to try and prevent. There is a prevention program that the clubs are working through.
Yeah, is that Prep to Play? Is that program?
That's right. Yeah, Prep to Play. It's been developed by Dr. Brooke Patterson and her colleagues at La Trobe University. And Brooke was actually an ex-AFLW player who did a PhD in this area. And look, it certainly seems to be reducing the impact. It's something that can be very simply incorporated into your warm-up, before training, before games, and so on. And that's used very widely. But we're still not winning, as you pointed out, and it's a major issue. And unfortunately, it's probably, as you said, something negative about AFLW, where everything else is so positive and it's been such a fantastic success. It's probably the one negative about it.
And also, I mean, the game is relatively new. We've been able to monitor men for, 100 years, not the case for women. Is that part of the problem, that coaches and fitness staff are still learning as they go, and they're also not given the elite training surfaces like the men always are as well?
Yeah, look, I mean, we're still seeing ACL injuries in men, so, we haven't got on top of that completely either. It's also a little bit, the women are still part-time. They have very restricted access to fitness training, to gyms, to physiotherapy and so on. It's all very restricted time-wise in the AFL, certainly compared to the AFL men. So there's a whole range of different factors. I don't think there's any one specific thing we can put our finger on, but there's a whole range of different things that the clubs are trying to do. And I can assure you the clubs are obviously very, very aware of this. No one wants to lose their best players. I think probably 2 of the top 10 players in the competition went down in that first week of the first round, which was very sad. But the clubs are working hard at it, and they'll continue to work hard at it. And there's ongoing research happening around the country as well. And
Peter, I wanted to ask you, if you've done your knee and your ACL and had a reconstruction, what are the chances of doing it again? And are women more prone to doing it again?
Well, I think you've certainly got a good chance of doing it again, unfortunately, no matter how good the surgery is. I mean, most players now, male and female, have what we call an ACL reconstruction, where they take a piece of tendon from the knee, patella or the hamstring or the quadriceps, and sort of fashion a new tendon, if you like, to reconstruct the original tendon. And it's something like 30% of those who've had a torn ACL have a recurrence, about equally in the reconstructed knee and in the other knee, because understandably, if you're susceptible in one knee, you may well be susceptible in another knee, so it's not surprising. So there is a very high recurrence rate, and which is obviously very frustrating and disastrous for the players involved.
I had come from a family of footballers with really bad knees, and sadly I inherited them too, and my knees are starting to ache as we speak about this, because I think, oh gosh, the long-term arthritis effects as well.
Well, that is an issue, and that's something else that we're looking into research-wise at La Trobe, in the long-term impact and osteoarthritis of those who've had a significant knee injury, and how we can reduce the long-term impact of that. So there's a lot of work going on that, but it's certainly there's no doubt you are more prone to osteoarthritis if you've had a significant knee injury.
Oh dear. Well, look, good luck with the research. Keep up the good work, and we appreciate your time.
Thanks very much, Jade.
Thank you. That is Dr. Peter Bruckner there, Professor of Sport Medicine at La Trobe University. That's us today. Thank you very much for your company, and I look forward to another show tomorrow afternoon. Have a good day. Bye.
This is Shane. Shane loves his beer fridge. Nothing beats a chilled home brew. But Shane has a problem. He gets the gilts having it on all day.